The last example in this section has to do with our favorite friend, word problems, okay? And with word problems, again, we need to kind of make sure we get the right setup and then go from there, okay? So here's the example that we're going to work through. So it says I can complete a tie blanket in 3 hours alone, while my friend, who's a perfectionist, takes a little bit more time and completes it in 4 hours. And so theoretically, if we were to combine our efforts on a single tie blanket, how long should we expect it to take? And so here's kind of what we know. Okay, so it takes me at one tie blanket, I can complete in 3 hours. Okay, or another way of saying is that I get 1/3 of a blanket is 1 hour. Okay, similarly, my friend. Okay, so friend. My friend can complete one blanket in 4 hours, or put differently, a quarter of a blanket is completed in 1 hour. Okay, so now we're curious about how long, if we were to combine efforts, how long we would expect it to take. Okay, so T is equal to amount of time to complete blanket together. Okay, so how we're going to set this up might seem a little bizarre at the moment, but what we're going to think about is that we're adding these two. We're taking kind of my rate, so the rate for me, and we're also adding to it the rate of my friend, and that's going to be the combined rate. Oops, combined. Okay. So what I know is that for me, I can, and this is where units might also help. For me, my rate of working is 1 blanket per 3 hours. And similarly, my friend is going to produce 1 blanket every 4 hours. But then together, we know that we can complete 1 blanket in, well, a questionable amount of time. We don't know, in some number of hours. Okay, and so now taking away the units, this is going to be the same as 1/3 plus 1/4 is equal to 1 over t. Okay, the only reason I introduced units was to make sure that at the end of this process that I am in the same units all across the board. Okay, so now I can go ahead and solve this. This is easier for me to work with. Again, get common denominators, all that good stuff. End up with 4/12 plus 3/12 is equal to 1 over t. So 7/12 is equal to 1 over t. And then I can do a variety of things. The easiest thing for me to do is to change numerator and denominator on both sides, so I end up with 12 over 7 is equal to t. Okay, so then in context here, what we end up with is that so I'm writing this, we would expect it to take 12 over 7 hours when working together. Okay, and now with this, there are a few comments that I have. First comment is, if you noticed here, really the rate of work is the reciprocal of time. of time needed. And how that played out is, well, really we saw, okay, it took me 3 hours to complete one blanket, right? The units here are like quantity produced per time, okay? Or some distance that, or some amount that we've specified per time unit, okay? So that's the first comment. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that rate of work is additive. So in other words, our combined rate is kind of our rates that it would take us individually but added together. Okay? And so those are really the two tidbits of information that are going to help us work through these. We are going to see rational equations pop up that have this information in it, and this is sort of the scheme that I like to think about as I tackle these problems. Think about the two pieces of, or the two rates that were given, or two bits of information, and how they relate together. Define a variable most certainly, and then kind of write out the rates, work through the math, and then conclude in context.